This is Majistos Evil Twin Brother and his tower. So I was thinking I want to build two things today. Some hero tents and also some sort of wizard's tower. That was a recommendation in the comment section of one of the last videos. Everyone was saying, hey, you should build a wizard tower. And I was like, man, that is such a good idea. We're for sure going to be building a wizard tower. That is fantastic. So let's start with the hero tents. When I think of medieval tents, I think of this set. It is the medieval jousting. And look, they've got these cool little tents. That one's got a battle axe in it. This one over here has a mace in it. And they're pretty neat builds. They've got some slopes on the front, inverted slopes, and then some larger slopes on the back, and the slopes on the top with the flags. So when I built my medieval tents, I went through my parts and I was like, okay, how can I make larger versions of those so they're actual tents where like soldiers could sleep and eat? And I came up with these designs. Now, I did use the parts from my inventory, so the parts aren't all the same as the ones you saw there, but I think we've got some pretty interesting colors. This one here is tan and dark blue. The top of it has cheese slopes on the side and then plate and tile on top. You've got some of those ingot tiles and some 2x6 dark blue tiles, and then the large slopes on the side, some bricks. There's also a layer of plate in there as well. That's why I was able to add those 1x1 studs. And this is like an open tent. You can look inside. There's some armor, a little table with a drumstick, also a little bed. And I also put this modified 1x8 plate on the top with the slide. So that's hero tent number one. Then I also did the same thing, but the color combinations are dark gray and dark red. Hero tent number two. Hero tent number three, dark red and light gray. I would have liked to use some different colors, but these tall slopes are sort of a rare find, even in my parts inventory. I don't mind the dark red and light gray though. Sand green and light gray one. This one I was able to use the curved slopes on the top rather than the cheese slopes like the other ones, just because I had the parts to do that. And each one has a different set of armor inside. So it's got a helmet and a sword. One of them had a helmet and a battle axe. One of the others had a helmet and a different type of sword. So I just tried to change up the varieties of food and also weapons within. And there we go. We've got 4 hero tents. At this point, I don't know exactly where these are going to go because we still need to build some other things, such as that wizarding tower, and then I need to like deal with the entire landscape. But I think they're going to be like scattered and they're going to be put at like cool angles. So for example, maybe one can go here. Maybe another one can go there. Maybe this one can go, I don't know, here. Maybe one can go up by the king's castle. I just think they do a great job of sort of breaking up the colors, adding some structures, and then of course when you place the minifigures there to accompany the tents, I think it's going to look pretty cool as well. Before we move on to the wizard's tower, I want to make some alterations to the pub, which was suggested in the comments section of the last video. The changes are nothing too serious, but pretty obvious ones. I had window glass there, changed them up with the gold shutters. I also changed up the front window glass with the gold shutters as well. And then I put the pub at an interesting angle, definitely better than it being just like square. And then I adapted the path so that it still leads up to the front door there. I think that's cool because this is just at a slight angle there, sort of like the hero tents are going to be as well. And then so will the wizard's tower. Now, I want to put this castle at an angle. That was suggested to me as well. But this drawbridge does line up nicely with this here, which needs to be upgraded. But maybe when I get around to actually placing this in its finalized position, it can be on a slight angle because I think that'll look a little bit better, even if the drawbridge doesn't line up perfectly with this ramp here. Even just like that, I guess. So I've actually always wanted to build a tower using a certain building technique. It's not the building technique that you'll see right over here in the zoo where we have the monkey tower, because that's just the like rounded bricks. But it's actually a technique that you can see right over here multiple times in the campground. First time is right there where we've got this wooden bridge which goes over the creek toward the A-frame cabin. And then the other one is right over here where we have a different wooden bridge which is leading up to the treehouse. I like using that technique to create bridges. It's really cool. You use like the cylinders and the 1x2 palisade bricks to create an arched bridge. But if you continue to use that technique and just do it at a larger scale, eventually you're going to be able to complete a perfect circle using Lego bricks, and you're technically bending the bricks. So that's exactly what I did, everybody. I just did that exact same pattern, but I supersized it and I created this giant tower which can actually bend. And you can sort of unravel it and ravel it back up into a circle. And the pattern is very straightforward. You just alternate between bricks and cylinders. Masonry brick, cylinder, masonry brick, cylinder. Just make sure all your masonry bricks are flipped the right way. And you do that on all the layers. Now, getting started is a little challenging just because there's not a lot that these adapt onto. But once you start going and get a solid foundation, then it just comes together quite nicely. And you can see there's a perfect diagonal line of masonry bricks and also cylinders all the way down. And once you get to the point where you can actually connect it, it becomes a perfect circle. And look, this is like a giant bridge if we so choose. And it's pretty neat because you can bend this, you could have it like misaligned if you want, or you can align it all. The most challenging part that I've come across so far, well, actually a couple different things, is going to be adding a winding staircase in the inside, but I think I just came up with an idea for that. And also was adding the door. The door was just a little bit of a challenge. We can see that what I did was actually replaced one of the bricks up top here with the 1x2 rounded plates. So there's a 1x2 rounded plate, and then there's two more that are sticking outward, and those actually attach to the top of the door. And then there's one more underneath that to make up the brick difference. And then I put two cylinders, and that holds the door on the top. There's two more of those 1x2 rounded plates on the bottom, and those go into the actual tower and attach to the bottom of the door. And then I put two 1x1 studs there. So the math of everything works out, and you're able to frame this door in the tower. I used a jail cell door just because I thought that was suiting. I used dark gray just to break up the color a little bit. And I do have a plan to break up the color a little bit more. Now, of course, you could use a combination of studs instead of cylinders if you wanted to. If you had a bunch of dark gray studs or like metallic studs, and you can stack 3 of them to create the height of the cylinder, and then you could use different colors of masonry bricks. If you wanted to, you could use different types of profile bricks. You could throw in some regular 1x2 bricks in there instead of the masonry bricks, and you can throw in different colors, and you could make it not all light gray like I did. But I didn't have the part selection to do that, so I just decided to go with all light gray. I had a bunch of these light gray cylinders in my inventory because I recently parted out those castles. What I'm actually going to do is try and figure out how I'm going to do a staircase. But what my plan is, I'm going to take these elements, and I'm actually going to do 2 different things with these. I'm going to build a staircase using these, and I'm also going to attach vegetation using these. They're rounded. They have like the studs. So what I'm going to do is put a stud on the top and a stud on the bottom. Now that matches the cylinder height, and I'm going to replace an entire row, a diagonal row that goes up to the top with these. And I'm going to put the little bar facing inward. And I think what's going to happen is I'll use snot bricks and attach the snot brick like that, and that's going to give me a stud that I can work with there and put that facing inward. And if I do that for an entire diagonal row, then we're going to have bricks that we can work from and actually add a winding staircase that leads right up to the top. I'm also going to do that exact same thing, and I'm going to replace the cylinder and have it facing outward, and that's going to give me a little connection part that I can actually connect vegetation to. So if I grab some vegetation such as these guys maybe, what I'll be able to do is have a vine creeping up the side of the tower, and that is going to break up the color a little bit. I can add some flowers to that, some leaves to that, and just sort of make this look better than it already does, right? I think before I make the staircase upgrade and before I add the vine, I'm going to create the top, just because I don't know where this vine should go up, and I also don't know where this staircase should start and end. It's probably gonna start there with the door, I guess, and then go right up. So this whole row. So it lines up with the door. Oh no, it'll have to go, oh, the door opens the wrong way. So I'll have to flip the door the other way so it opens inward that way. And then the stairs can start there and go all the way up. Forgot to mention that underneath the door, I have 2 layers of brick just to get the foundation for the support for the door. And then around the bottom, I put some of those modified 1x2 plates as well, because you can do the exact same thing with these plates because they have the rounded corners. So I decided to put that on the bottom, and I could do another layer of those because it would lock everything together even further. So I'll probably do that as well if I have enough pieces. This is what I've come up with so far for the top. I think I like it. It's not just your standard round top. I decided to make it like an odd shape. So we've got like the reddish brown and gold curved windows on the front. And then I used these curved pieces to match the curved shape of it. And I put some cylinders between them just because when it was a solid wall, it didn't look as good. Now I do have a plan to break up these walls by using, once again, the vegetation that I was mentioning for the base of the tower as well. I think if there's like a vine creeping up there, it's going to help break up the monochromatic feel of this tower. I put the large cones on top. I had some spares from the Hogwarts Castle. And you can see the shape of it is pretty odd. There is a curved window right there. I tried to fill in the walls like with masonry bricks and profile bricks. There's some more of those curved bricks back here. I'll probably stick another vine on there. There's a another window right here, which is the 1x4 window with the gold shutters, another curved wall. This one didn't look as good like when I had these two so close, so I actually put some miniature or smaller curved macaroni bricks there, and then a nice textured wall there with all the profile bricks. You can see that there is 2 different heights, and I connected the wall there. So this roof is removable, so you can get in there and actually access the interior. There's no interior details yet, but I hope to add those. I should maybe replace these with like 1x2 jumpers, just so they fill in that gap there. The curved tiles do work, but then this, like for example, if I put a curved tile here, so it covers this, well then this whole thing is loose, so that's why I decided to use these larger tiles so they actually adapt to those studs and lock that wall in place. And I don't think you can really see the gaps when the roof is on there. And if I replace that with a jumper, it should do the same effect, but actually cover the gap a little bit more. This spot right here, I didn't make that removable, like this little roof section right there. I'm thinking you can just look in and see the details that I decided to put in there. It's a pretty cool shape. You can see all the modified plates that I used to create it. I think it looks pretty sweet. It needs some more color, and I think the vegetation will do a great job of adding that. And this is what the top of it looks like when it's placed on the tower base. It looks sort of monochromatic here and sort of boring. I think the design is there. I like the odd shape of it. And check this out, when we actually place it in the medieval area, for example, if I put it right there beside the other castle, it just sort of makes a little more sense. It sort of blends in with the landscape, blends in with the castle feel of this area. I dig it. I think it's pretty neat. Hey look, it's Majisto and Majistos Evil Twin Brother, who's the proud owner of the tower that I've been building all day. And the tower's complete. I actually added a different section, and that is the base. So I created the base with some plates, some odd-shaped plates, and tiled it off nicely with the quarter rounds. And there's a skeleton down there. It's going to make sense in a second. I added this staircase, got the same curved effect using the masonry bricks and the cylinders. And there is a platform up top there, and then there is some stairs. I just offset some of the 1x4 modified plates with the 2 studs, stacked them twice or like double high, and that's going to lead right up to the entrance of the tower, which of course is the dark gray window frame with the jail cell piece. I did add the vegetation that I was mentioning creeping up the side of the tower. I might be able to add more, but there's a couple vines there and then some dead leaves as well. And I stuck those on using those modified 1x1 plates, and then they creep up the side. They are connected to each other using those little branch elements, which are pretty cool. Found those in the pad wall not too long ago. And then there's some green leaves on them as well. Now there is the staircase in the interior as well. The staircase was a little bit tricky. As I mentioned, I used those pieces there, and I was fiddling around with the snot bricks. That was my plan, but I just couldn't get the spacing correct just because there wasn't a whole lot of space. So I made it a super sketchy staircase, and what I did was just put some candlesticks on the end of it. This guy was attempting to climb the staircase and get into the tower, and he didn't make it. He's still clinging on for dear life, but his life is gone. And that's why there's another skeleton on the base of the tower. There's only one wizard that can make the climb and enter the top of the tower, and that is Majistos Evil Twin Brother. One of the reasons he's so evil is because he's always been jealous of his brother's print detailing. This is the original Majisto, and this is the remake from the GWP. But yeah, he's really mad at his brother because he's got really nice print detailing, and it turned him to the dark side. The circular portion of the tower is attached to the base with 2 different points of attachment, and when it's attached, you can look down and see the skeleton on the bottom. You know what? I think we need to throw one more skeleton in there. Oh no! The top of the tower now has a fully detailed interior, and I was also able to make some changes to the exterior as well, such as these vines. I actually attached them with a modified 1x2 plate, so rather than swapping up that stud with a jumper, I decided to swap it up with the plate, and then I was able to attach that connector element, and the vines can creep down the side of the tower. They also go on the top there and connect to the other vine, which creeps down the back side. I also replaced all of those studs, or covered up all of those studs, with some quarter round tiles and some 1x2, so it matches the base. And then I rebuilt this as well. So this plate is now removable, so we can see the interior details. It's fairly easy. You just got to remove like this tower section, and then this will be removable, and so is the back section as well. You can also remove this crossbeam, which is just held in by like, I don't know, a few studs. Nothing too major. Then we can see some of the interior details. There's 2 cabinets right back there. Has a goblet, some books, a key, some miscellaneous items on top there, and then another goblet, some more books, a pair of handcuffs. There's a table with a pot, also a beaker, and a broom top or a mop top. Thought that was a pretty cool little detail there. And then there is a little fireplace right there, and he's got his cauldron over top, and it looks like he's brewing up something wicked. There's a minifig arm in there, a pink frog, a wolf head, and a bone. And there's some other miscellaneous studs under all that. And then you can see there is a paddle right there by the front window, and that's what he uses to stir his elixir. And there is a rat in the front window, which is enjoying the view. There's also a spider web to the left there, and I did add some random tiles around to sort of match the rest of the tower. Now, I didn't add a staircase hole because that would take up so much space. So my theory is only the evil twin Majisto can get up here. He has to cast a spell to open it up and get in, and that's why the skeletons didn't make it to the top of the tower. This guy loves to live in solitude. He doesn't like anybody else up in his tower. I did cap it off too with some 1x1 circular tiles, and then I added 2 studs, and that's actually how this is being attached. So there's a stud that's holding it in place on this side, and there's a stud right here in this corner that is aligning it, just so I know it's aligned. It's not very well attached. Like, there's only 2 points of attachment, so when you move it, you have to move them pieces individually, but it's only 3 pieces. So there we have the original Majistos Tower, and then we have my version of Majistos Tower. Which one do you prefer? One's classic, one's custom. Both are pretty cool. I was really happy that I was able to build this mock. I'm really satisfied with the outcome of it. There might be a few minor tweaks here and there, such as more vines creeping up the side of it. I've got to connect the trail, which won't take long at all. And then once again, I've got to go through and do all of the landscaping all around and still figure out what I'm going to do up here and finalize the placement of my heroes' tents and come up with some other mocks, because I think this needs to be replaced and I want to add some more stuff to this crazy medieval diorama that I've been working on. Pretty happy that I was able to make the changes to the pub, build the hero tents, and build this wicked cool tower. Thank you so much for coming on by. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff coming out in the very near future. Farewell.